Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. This time out, what just may be the world's smallest effects pedal for guitar. Let's get started. Today we're looking at the Hotone line of guitar pedals. Now these are tiny little pedals that have great tones and that come in at very affordable prices. I've got 5 of the pedals here today. I've got a compressor, I've got an overdrive, a distortion, a fuzz, and a delay, and there are a number of other pedals in the line as well. All of the pedals share the same form factor. Very compact enclosures. They feature control knobs on the top panel. There's a foot switch for turning them on and off, and these are true bypass pedals. There's a bar here to protect the controls when you're stepping on the foot switch. And then the main control is on the front here. It's a larger knob, and that also lights up to indicate when the effect is engaged. The enclosures on these pedals are so small you can't even fit a 9-volt battery inside there, so they do require a 9-volt power supply. I've got a 1-spot here connected up, and all 5 of them are running off a single 1-spot with no problem at all. So let's listen to what these pedals can do. This is the comp, or a compressor. It has a volume control on the top here. We've also got a tone control and a spark control, which adds a sparkle on top, so it brings out even more brightness in the signal. Then the main knob on the front is our compression control. Here's our dry sound. I'm playing a Gibson ES335 Larry Carlton model through a Rivera Venus 3 amplifier. We've got a neutral clean sound that's just on the edge of breaking up. Now we'll engage the compressor. I've got the compression level set to about 6.5, a little bit of extra brightness dialed in here. You can hear that it's grabbing onto those notes, but it's not completely squashing the transients. It's also adding a nice amount of sustain to the signal. We can turn up the brightness and hit that spark control. And you can hear that it brings out a lot more snap in the sound, a lot more of the attack comes out, and it's a brighter tone overall. Next up we have the Grass Overdrive. Now this is a familiar sounding overdrive pedal. We've got the gain control on the front, an output volume control here, and a tone control here, which they label voice actually, but it's pretty much a brightness or high-end control. And then we also do have a bright switch for making the sound even brighter. So let's turn that tone control back to about 12 o'clock. We'll leave the volume where it is, and I'm set at about 8 on the gain control. At this setting, we've got a lot of sustain. It's a rich sound with a good upper mid-range peak on it, but it also is a little bit dark. So I'm going to bring the brightness up just a little bit more on that voicing control. With this setting, we're hearing more of the pick attack. You can hear a little bit more of the articulation. When we hit the bright switch, the sound gets a lot more trebly there, and depending on how you have your clean amp set up, that may be exactly what you need for cutting through the mix. Next up we have the Chunk distortion pedal. Now this is a very amp-like distortion pedal. We've got a gain control in the front, volume control, tone control, and then we have a hot switch for bringing up the gain even higher. So I've got the gain at this point set to about, looks like about 8. Let's listen to what that sounds like. It's a very amp-like distortion. It actually responds to your playing in the same way that a tube amp would. There's a nice big bottom end on there, which is certainly where the name of that pedal comes from. It's a really chunky sound. Now we can engage the hot switch, which brings up the gain. That's a nice thick sound with a lot of sustain, but it's not overly fuzzy. It's still a nice tight tone. Next up we have the Fury fuzz pedal. Now what's cool about this pedal is it has a push switch on the front, and what that really does is give two different voicings to the fuzz. We've got a more open sound with the push switch off. When we turn that on, it gets a little edgier and a little bit more distorted. Here's what it sounds like with the push switch off. We're set to a gain of about 8. That's a big fat sound with a ton of bottom end and a lot of sustain. Now when we hit the push switch, changes the attack characteristic a little bit. It's almost like there's a compressor on there that's driving that fuzz. Gives us even more sustain, tightens up the bottom end a little bit, and it cuts down the pick attack just a little bit. So we really do have two different voices there that we can then adjust with the tone control as well. Our next pedal is the echo pedal, which is a delay pedal. The front control is our delay time. On the left we have the delay volume, and on the right we have the number of repeats. The switch brings modulation in and out, so it's a chorusing effect that's on the repeats. Let's begin by listening to the delay with no modulation. We'll engage this. We're set to a fairly short delay time. I'm on 2 on the knob here. We've got a few repeats. What I like about this delay sound is that it's dark enough that it sits well behind the guitar as you're playing, but it still has the articulation you need to still hear it clearly. Now we'll bring up the delay time. We've got quite a range here. So here we're at about 2 on the knob. Now we'll turn up to 10. So you can get a nice long delay out of this. We'll bring up the repeats and we'll bring up the level as well. That's a great sound for those soaring lead type effects where you want a delay behind your lead lines. Now we'll turn on the modulation. With a modulated delay, you have almost a chorus effect that's on the repeats. So when you combine that with the dry signal, you get a nice rich sound with motion to it. As I mentioned, there are a number of other pedals in this line. There are more distortions, more fuzzes, there's a looper pedal, there's a chorus pedal, so lots of different choices in the Hotone line. They're all very affordable, and the fun really comes when you put these together onto a pedal board. You can see that even with 5 pedals here, I could have an extremely compact board that would give me a lot of tonal flavors. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Hotone guitar pedals. They're a lot of fun to play with. They sound great, they're super compact and lightweight, and they're very affordable. You really want to check these out. Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more guitars, more amps, more effects, and we'll be making lots of music. I'm Mitch Gallagher.